Hello and welcome to Video Revealed. I'm Colin Smith and I've got a really good one here. I call this one Unmasking the Myth, the truth behind a cinematic film look. Now, we've all seen all of these tutorials out there to show you how to get what a lot of people call a film look or a cinematic look. And I think that that is absolutely bogus. There's no such thing as a cinematic look, at least one cinematic look. And that's what I'm going to disprove here on Unmasking the Myth. I want to show you that you're restricting yourself enormously by thinking only that there's one thing to go for, one kind of look, one kind of crushed blacks and shallow depth of field and all these little tricks that people think are actual film. I'm going to show you some real world, amazing Hollywood examples that will give you the control to make a movie you want and not be restricted by what someone else thinks is a cinematic look. Let's have a look. Okay. So this is from 2001, A Space Odyssey, and if you're not familiar with this, there are two astronauts in the pod, and they are talking. And here you can see a very shallow depth of field and very crushed blacks, and I'm fooling you. Maybe you already knew this by looking at that, but that's not the correct frame. I messed with it, actually used a little bit of After Effects, Photoshop, and Premiere Pro. This is not the real scene. Why is this not the real scene? Well, because there's a shallow depth of field. Why does that matter? Let me set this up. If you don't know this story, those two guys are scared of the computer. The computer's called HAL. HAL is watching them. They've turned off all the communication in that pod, so HAL can't hear them. So they're talking, but their lips are in the window of the pod, and HAL can see them, and HAL reads their lips, and well, problems happen. So what I wanted to show you is if we treated 2001 in a cinematic look and crushed the blacks and had a shallow depth of field, we ruin the scene. Let me show you the real scene. All right, let me pull this back and expose the real frame. There it is. That's Hal in the back, that little red light looking at them as they're speaking. But I put this treatment on here with a shallow depth of field and crushed blacks, which makes no sense and does not serve the purpose of this film. If you can't see Hal, then you don't know what Hal is doing. There's a reverse shot from Hal looking at them and their mouths moving in silence. Without this, it makes no sense at all. Let me also show you where changing depth of field and rack focuses also are a great part of the story. Let's go look at this scene from The Matrix. All right, so here's Neo. He's up on the ledge, and look at this. We can see from the phone that's there, when he's dropping the phone is in focus, and people on the street are in focus. Is that a shallow depth of field? Abso-freaking-lutely not. Let's keep going and look at a rack focus and how that's going to work. So now we go down to the street. Okay, he gets caught in the next scene. Spoiler if you haven't seen that. Okay. So here he is being put into the police car. Notice the buildings in the back top left. You can see their windows very clearly, the sign from the book bargains, and all the way to the front of the car. Everything is in focus because we're establishing the street and we're establishing the fact that Neo is being captured by the agents and he's being put in the car. You've got a reverse shot now with a shallow depth of field. You can see we're looking in a mirror that's obviously ahead of where they're putting him in the car. And although there are people on the street, you cannot clearly see them. You can see Trinity's hand, although we don't know it's Trinity yet. We can see her hand and the mirror. Let's go back to the other side now, and you'll see the building that was in focus before is not in focus. Now we're shallower. You can see the mirror of the motorcycle blurred in the front, and you can see the agents, but you can't even see the car and the people in the back. Now we're going to rack focus as Agent Smith is in focus but he looks forward because he believes he sees Trinity, and then Trinity is in focus. All right, did we have a shallow depth of field? Yes, but we also had long shots. Bottom line is, the depth of field and what's in focus should serve the story. If it's not serving the story, then you're just doing something that you think you should do. This has to work. I mean, I don't really have much of a depth of field here. The back, by the way, that's a wall back there that I'm projecting on, and it's a tiny bit out of focus. You can see my hand is still in focus here, but it's starting to go out of focus. So my depth of field obviously is not for dramatic purposes, but I mean, you have a lens, you have an aperture setting. That's what depth of field is about. It has to serve the story. All right, now let's look at another example where this one also drives me nuts. And yes, it's really common right now to crush the blacks and have teal and blue or teal and orange looks and things like that. But, you know, break out of this for a second and stop and think. Here is the opening scene to Social Network. And you can see it's dark. I mean, it's in a pub somewhere. And here they are, they're talking. I'm fooling you again. This is not the original color grading on it. I messed with it. Let me show you the original. So let me go back to here. Let's turn off my treatment and look at this. Sweet mama, look at that. I bet you, I know I wouldn't, have had the courage to have that kind of look, because it's not the typical look that you would get if you were sitting down and you were creating a cinematic look. And by the way, this was all shot on red, so it's filmic, but it's not film. But look at that. This is what Fincher did for Social Network. It has a very specific feel. It has a very, you know, these golden hues going on. And let's wait till we get a close-up here, and I'll show you. All right, so let me go back and turn on my treatment, and we go from that to that. Which is right, which is wrong? There's no right or wrong. That's just their choice. I just wanted to open your eyes, and if I just showed you this frame and tried to point out what Fincher was doing, you probably wouldn't get it. So I had to show you, I had to juxtapose that against what we would think maybe of a typical filmic look today, or a cinematic look. Now, I also wanted to mess around with some of my own footage. Here's 3 clips of beautiful Vancouver. You can see the wall center there and out on the street. So this is no treatment yet. So let's give it a bit of danger. Boom. Look at that. Ooh, now we got danger. This is the same look that I created for 2001. You can see these stark blues. It's very cold. And even though you see the yellow cab there, you know it's a yellow cab, but this is a dark scene. Or let's turn this into The Matrix. All right, so there's a Matrix look. Same scene, different feel. Let's go Wes Anderson on this and make this all saturated and fantasy-like, and holy smokes. So 3 different looks that serve the story for whatever it is. Anyone that's a color grader will tell you that. You're not grading to try to create what someone thinks that is a cinematic look. You're helping to serve the story. The last one I want to finish off with is some iconic films. This to me should really blow your mind, in that when you look at films that are real films that had film look, do they at all look the same? No way. Let's go have a look. All right, let's start with something, you know, a huge treatment here. This is 300. Everybody knows this look. It's completely, you know, away from, you know, a typical natural look, but that's 300. Here's African Queen, another very specific look. And of course, the wonderful Blade Runner. Here's Brazil, and look at the skin tone difference between Brazil and Chinatown. Let me just go back. That's Brazil, that's Chinatown. Even black and whites. Here's Dr. Strangelove, and here's Psycho. Look at Dr. Strangelove. A little bit more of a fantasy, maybe a bit softer, not as stark. And look at Psycho. Very brittle, very harsh, very dangerous. Multipass. Yeah, I had to say that. Here's Fifth Element, another crazy, awesome look to this film. Doesn't look like anything else. Of course, a wonderful Godfather, very rich looking. Here is Moonrise Kingdom. Holy smokes, a real different look completely. Not just in the color grading, but also in the art direction and the costumes. Now let's look at the Coen brothers. Here's 3 films of the Coen brothers with 3 completely different looks. No Country, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And Raising Arizona. Let's go back and look at those 3. Boom, boom, boom. Wow. I mean, I love the Coens. 3 of my favorite films and 3 really incredibly different looks. All right, North by Northwest, please. I mean, look at this. Hitchcock, it's like a freaking painting. It's absolutely incredible. Love it. A very specific look in that movie. Saving Private Ryan, again, another look. The Searchers, Sweeney Todd, and let's leave you with one of the most iconic, and that's Wizard of Oz. So I hope that gives you an idea that you should not restrict yourself to what someone thinks is a cinematic look. Serve the story. It's all about the story. How does it work? Not just in color, but in depth of field. I showed you in that Matrix example. That whole scene, bang, 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 really, it forced you as a viewer to look where the director wanted you to look. And they could get that over with very quickly. All right. I hope you had as much fun as I did. I really love this stuff. I could go on and on about this. This is fantastic stuff. If you found this useful and you're new to Video Revealed, take a moment and subscribe to us. We really would appreciate it. Thanks so much. Until next time, I'm Colin Smith, and I'm hoping you get a filmic look that's your own, and we continue to unmask these myths.